If you like these videos, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. That really helps us out. And let's take a quick look. So this is a 15-inch, as the name suggests, and it weighs 3.75 pounds. So it's 1.7 kilograms for anybody outside of the US. They're resorting to styrofoam. And here's the other end. And the only other thing you'll find in here is the power supply. The power supply usually for this type of model is 65 watts. Let's take a quick look, see if this is indeed the same. It is. And this is also a USB-C for power. So that's very typical nowadays of laptops. So generally what I recommend if you're going to go out and buy a laptop is to get an i5 or an i7, preferably generation 10, generation 11. This particular one fits the bill. This is a generation 11, so it's very recent. This also, for those of you who continually send emails and ask about Windows 11, this does have TPM 2.0 on there, so this will handle Windows 11 fine. So as you can tell, this one's different color than some of the previous ones that we've reviewed. So this is basically called a mineralized gray. It's a little shiny. It doesn't look like it leaves fingerprints. And I really like the fact it says ThinkBook. It kind of looks like a presentation file folder to me. So it's kind of pretty. The top appears to be metal, or at least it feels, it does feel metal and like slippery as opposed to some of the other models. The back, as you may have seen from other Lenovo products, it really does feel just like a plastic back, and it's got some ventilation here, and it also has some ventilation along here on the basically where it folds. Now this portion here, basically the hinge, appears to be metal. So these are pretty durable in general, so they're probably made of, have to look it up, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was typically magnesium or a mix of different things to make it durable. And let's take a quick look at what's available. Now you'll find, obviously, since we saw the power supply being USB-C, clearly we have to have at least a port. So you've got some ports, and if I can see it here from here, but what we've got are USB-C, USB-C, HDMI, we've got USB, that would be 3.0 and 3.1, and headphone jacks. And let's see the other side. Okay, so we've got a 4-in-1 reader on this end, USB, and this is for network. For those of you who are curious as to how they work, when you put in the wire, it basically pushes down here. That's makes it wider. This is actually the first time I see this model myself, so I'll take this off. And here we go. In this one we have, it's a English-French keyboard on this one, so that we can have basically bilingual. And the other thing you'll notice is there's a little picture of a finger here, fingerprint. So the on-off button actually acts as a fingerprint reader. So that's one way to unlock the computer. As opposed to some of the other models by Lenovo, the other thing you'll notice is it does have a touchpad, but it does not have the little joystick in the middle, doesn't have the pointer stick that they have in some of the models. Also, you'll notice the keyboard appears to be slightly less pronounced than some of the other models that we've seen. And on the flip side, you'll notice it has its own keypad. So it's got its number area here on the side. So it's an extended keyboard. So apart from that, let's see, they still feel pretty good, but they're not quite as bouncy as some of the other ones. So what's interesting about this unit is they have less SKUs, meaning they have less models for this particular unit. So some of the other ones would have a range, for example, from a microprocessor point of view, from an i3 all the way to an i5 or an i7. And this one particularly, what it does is it comes with an i7. This one here came with an i7. It's an 1165 G7, 11th generation Intel, of course. And what's also interesting is the SSD, or the hard drive, for those of you who called it that in the past. In this case, it is an NVMe, so that's definitely what I recommend, but it comes with 512. So that was the options that I had for this model. It was 512. In some of the other laptops that we've reviewed, you have a huge range of things you can get. In this one, it's more limited. The other thing too was the memory. All the ones that I saw had 16 gigs. There's really only two screens available with this unit. They're both 1920 by 1080. And one of them, basically the non-touchscreen, will be 250 nits. And if you get with touchscreen, you go up to 300 nits. That's what's available. So you can't get higher resolution than that. Apart from that, you'll find you can get Wi-Fi 6 on here. That's 802.11ax. If you do, then you're getting Bluetooth 5.1. You may be able to still find some SKUs out there that have the previous generation of Wi-Fi. It's basically a chip. I don't know if you've seen one of my videos where I open it up, but you might also be able to find this in the 802.11ac, which in that case would give you Bluetooth 5.0. The camera on here is pretty standard. It's a 720p. They haven't really moved up. The battery in here, really there are two, again, depending on the SKU. So we're looking at either a 45 or a 60 WH. So that means is they're quoting these at being able to run about 6 hours with the 45 or 8 hours with the 60. Again, it depends on use. If you're doing a lot of videos versus just working on Word, for example, very different usage will result in different times. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on and install the operating system, and then we'll come back and show you some of the benchmarks just to get an idea of how good it is or how bad it is. Okay, so we've gone ahead and benchmarked the laptop, and as you can tell from the gaming, it's saying 17% surfboard, desktop 76% battleship, and workstation 16% surfboard. So again, if you're going to be using one of these, don't expect to be doing heavy duty gaming on this. It does not have a dedicated GPU, so this is really just the built-in processor that is doing all of the video rendering. So let's move down and take a quick look at some of the components. And of course, when you run this, sometimes you'll be below, sometimes you'll be you should be in the middle. Actually, this is great because you can tell if your device is performing adequately or not. So the processor is saying is a little below. Again, it is an Intel i7. It's a 1165G7. Now let's take a quick look at the graphics card. Of course, as I mentioned, this is the Intel Iris Xe, which is the one that's built in. So there's no dedicated GPU. Now, what's nice about this as well is it will tell us what component it's using for the drive. So the drive, as you can tell, is a Samsung 512 gigs, and it's performing, you know, I guess sort of in the average for this. It is actually saying that it is at 139%, which is outstanding. So apparently it's very good. Of course, you can tell that other people have benchmarked higher. And last but not least, the memory is also from Samsung, and it is at 65.3%. So it's again in the average percentile. Actually, it says below expectations on there, and it shows you things like memory latency and so forth. Really, at the end of the day, what you really care is what will it run, what's great with it. And what you want to do is you want to use this laptop for business applications mainly. I mean, this is what it was designed for. This is a business laptop. So I like the keyboard. The keyboard feels very good. The other thing too is I wanted to see if there was a lit keyboard, which there is. So if you do the function in this, you'll notice that it lights up. I don't know if you can see, but that was one of the questions we get often. So I'm Bob Pellerin, CTOBOB. Hope you've enjoyed this video. So this was the ThinkPad 15 Generation 2 from Lenovo. And please leave comments below. We enjoy reading those. You can visit us at www.ctobob.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.